For the pledge, the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone to the new year, January 5th, 2022. Meeting. I guess we're all kind of glad to get 2021 behind, but now we're going right back into still another crazy month, I think, ahead of us. We have approval of the minutes of December 8th, 2021. We have a motion and a second on the minutes. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Financial report and payment of the bills. We have a motion to approve the financial report and authorize the disbursement of funds. So second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the financial report? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We have a budget amendment 2022-01. Steve Repo on, or you want me to roll with it, Steve?
I don't see him on.
I don't see him on, but I can roll with this. We need to do a budget amendment 2022-01. Of course, our first budget amendment of the year. And this is to budget the Senator William H. Amos Fire Rescue and Ambulance Funds of $5,849 received from the Cecil County government, and it gets transferred to the William M. Singerly Steam Fire Engine and Hook and Ladder Company. This is was a law that was put in place many years ago, and it works out very well. Do we have a motion to accept budget amendment 2022-01? So moved. Second. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that at all? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right. Okay, we've got Mr. Ed Donahue or Eric. I think Eric's on. I'm not sure if Ed is on. We're going to have New Gen is going to talk to us about a water and sewer rate model update. Are you guys on board? Who's going to run with the program?
We are here.
All right, perfect. Do you need anything from me, or are you going to go ahead and move forward with the PowerPoint?
We are going to move forward. I believe Michelle is giving us the ability to share our screen in a moment here.
Perfect.
Okay, Ed, try that.
No, I believe I'm seeing your screen right now.
Okay, give me just a quick sec.
There we go. Give me one moment. How about that?
All right, you got it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be in front of the mayor and the commissioners here. My name is Eric Coloquia. I am a principal with New Gen Strategies and Solutions. We are in our Annapolis office, and I have here with me Ed Donahue.
Good morning. Good to see everyone again.
We have a brief presentation to discuss our proposal to update the town's water and sewer rate model. We'll reintroduce our firm. We've been working with the town for several years. We'll talk about what goes into a water and sewer rate study, our scope of work, how long it's going to take us to perform the study, and then we'll be happy to entertain any discussion or questions. So Ed, you want to talk about New Gen?
Sure. Thank you, Eric. We've worked for the town for the past 15 years on several studies. We used to be a locally based firm with just one office, Municipal and Financial Services Group. In 2019, we merged with New Gen, which is a national firm. We had teamed with them on a bunch of projects. They do mostly municipal electric and gas work. We do mostly municipal water and sewer work. So it's a good fit. No geographic overlap, none of that stuff. But basically, we're financial, economic, management advisors, work across the country, do these kinds of studies, other things. We just helped Baltimore County and Baltimore City look at ways they could better consolidate and integrate their operations. We've worked pretty much all around the state. We've got 12 offices. We've got 50 plus employees, and the number seems to grow every day. Eric, you want to just pick it up from there?
Sure, thank you, Ed. So what we are proposing to update for the town is our water and sewer rate study. What goes into a rate study are essentially four components, four stages. The first is called the revenue requirements. We need to look at what revenue needs to be generated to sustain the systems. Operating expenses, capital expenses, debt service, both current and anticipated future. We also look at customers. We look at how many customers you have and how are they using the water and wastewater systems, so we know what the basis is over which we can spread those costs. We compare the revenues under your current rates to the expenses that we forecast for both systems, and we develop a financial plan. Do we need to increase revenues to meet a sustainable financial projection for the water and sewer systems? And then we develop a schedule of rates and fees that meet those financial objectives. There's some guiding principles we use when performing a rate study. The first is that these systems need to be financially self-sufficient. The customers of these systems should pay the expenses in order to sustain the systems. That is a core assumption. We spread the costs of the systems over the system's users. Our objective is to keep these fees as low as possible over time. It's possible to keep fees low for a short period of time by not properly investing in the systems. We look at the systems as a whole over time so that we can make sure that rates are steady, they are predictable, and that the systems get the revenue that they need. And the bottom line is someone must pay. For any group of customers or customer that we give a discount, other customers need to make up that revenue. The systems by and large have fixed expenses so that any revenue that we need to generate per year is largely the same regardless of how much customers use the system.
Okay, Eric, one thing we didn't say, the last bullet under the second caption, we prefer and strongly recommend that you increase rates regularly, gradually, and smoothly. I mean, we've worked for a client up in Connecticut that hadn't raised rates in 24 years. And then they were amazed when we told them they needed to raise rates 40% to break even. So we don't want that. If you raise rates 2 or 3% a year, some people will grumble and mumble, but nothing like if you wait, 10 years and raise them 20% or 30%. So it's good finance and good public policy to raise rates regularly and in small increments. Sorry, Eric.
No problem, thank you. So our scope of work has 5 related tasks. As Ed mentioned, we had previously developed a rate study for the town back in 2006 and have updated it several times since. The scope of work is to update the revenue requirements. We need to look at costs again. We need to look at the most current budgets and the capital plans. We need to update customers and consumption. What is the current customer base of the system and what is it going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years? We use those two to develop a new 5-year financial plan. We update our model for our format and our outputs so that we can communicate the results of the study to the public at large. And then we will bring back both a formal report for the results of the update and bring the results as a presentation to the mayor and commissioners. Our timeline in order to complete the study is shown here. Given our notice to proceed, we would be delivering a draft report in about 8 weeks. We would bring those draft results to staff and to the mayor and commissioners, and then we would turn around a final report 4 weeks after that. So the entire study would take about 12 weeks to arrive at a financial plan and recommended rates for the next 5 years. That is everything we had in our presentation. We'd be happy to take any questions and discussion.
Hey, thank you guys so much for the presentation. The revenues and of course the expenses that you're going to be working the model off of will be coming from the town of Elkton, I'm assuming. Do you guys dig into the billing at all to make sure that we're billing and billing everyone correctly?
We do. A part of that task to update the customers and consumption is to get the detailed billing data from your systems to show us exactly who is being billed and what they're being billed. And we compare that to the system at large to make sure that we are accounting for all customers.
Yeah, one of the things we do is to take the amount of revenue you're generating now and compare it with the consumption you say you're using as a basis for billing customers, multiply the consumption by the rates that you now have in effect, and hopefully they are equal to what you're actually billing. So it's sort of an idiot level test to make sure that you're not missing anybody in sending out bills, or that you're also not overbilling people.
I know water and sewer has always been a touchy subject here with this board. And I know that we've all looked at, in the past, we looked at our water fund, our sewer fund. And over the years, we've had a pretty good reserve in both of those funds. And I know that we've done the study with you folks in the past. But what we did, it was hard for this board to see why we needed to have the amount of dollars in those funds. So we started giving some of that money back to the residents over the last 4 or 5 years. We actually reduced the water rate by 11%, and we reduced the sewer rate by 11% over the last few years. Now, I recognize, and I've told staff, I recognize and I know that we're going to have to increase those rates again here at some point. But I guess what when we go into this study, I don't want this thing to where we have millions of dollars into our funds that we don't have plans on using that money.
Absolutely. One of the things we want to talk about with you all is what your policy is on reserves. How much of a reserve do you want? I mean, if you were regulated by the State Public Service Commission, they would say you should have 90 days of operating cash in reserves and a year's worth of debt service reserves. Now, you don't have to abide by those guidelines because you're not regulated by the PSC, but that's what they would tell BG&E or anybody like that. So one of the policy issues for you all to grapple with is what is our policy in reserves? How much do we want? Not in terms of absolute dollars, but in terms as a percentage of something or so many days, or and also if you have any loan agreements. Some of the loan agreements that MDE has used in the last several years of requirement that you have reserves. It's not like a debt service reserve on a revenue bond, but there is wording in the loan agreement that says you got to set rates sufficient to cover operating costs and debt service and have some reserves. So we want to talk with you about your reserves policy, because you don't want too much cash sitting there, because you're going to get criticized for having rates that are higher than they need to be. But you also need to have some cash, because God knows, a line can blow up, or there can be some catastrophe, or your billing system gets blown apart. So you got to have some cash there to cover you for unanticipated costs. Or you may also have a policy on the capital side that we want to minimize debt. So we've got some clients who are probably too conservative, and they say we want to start stashing away cash so that when we build that next reservoir or that next pump station, we don't have to borrow money. And that's perfectly legal, and it's certainly conservative financially, but it makes your rates for your current customers higher than they would have to be and holds down rates in the future. So it's a policy decision for you all.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So prior to, we're going to move forward, because I think we do need to update our study for sure. But I would stress that staff would get with the board and let's come up with a plan on, because I don't think we have that policy in place. I think we've always talked about having the 90-day or the 60-day, but I think it's a policy that we need to get in place, and that'll be one of the topics for discussion next week at the workshop, that we need to know how much reserve we do want in our water fund, our sewer fund, and our major facility fund, and even our general fund. And we need to put some policy decisions together so that we're just not guessing. I think that when we did our cutting back like we did, it was because I just felt, and I know the board felt the same way, we just had too much money in here. And it was, in my view, it was. Now, maybe in other eyes, it may have not have been, but that's how I felt. Does anyone from the board have any questions or comments?
One of the things that I really, I want to be sure as a board member, is to make sure that we have identified all the water sources or the water usage that we're actually giving out here in the town of Elkton. Because last time we done a water study, I'm pretty sure you guys done a study based on what you know of, but we are aware, some of us on the board, that there was other water sources that weren't being accounted for. So we're adjusting our rates and stuff based on probably, I'm just guessing, I'm not 80% instead of 100% of what we're actually using. How can we be sure that we're using, we're basing it on the usage that we're actually giving out?
Well, the other thing is not just based on actual usage in total, but since you provide service to outside town customers, we want to examine and discuss with you your policy about charging different rates, higher or lower, outside of town. And I know you've got some agreements that somewhat restrict you, but there's probably still some flexibility. You know, the rationale for charging higher rates outside of town is that you took all the risk for the benefit of the outside town customers. And so you should be rewarded for taking that risk. So, you know, that's something else we'd want to talk about with you.
And the other question is, we've had water meters being assessed to some properties, but I'm not even sure if the town has completed that task as far as for all the residents. Where are we at with that before we do all the auditing?
Sure.
The upgrade on the hookup off of the water sewer system for our residents. I don't know who to ask that question to.
Water meter update. I think we're about 80%.
I've extended on duty self.
Dan, where are we at with the upgrades on the water meters?
Oh, probably about 75 to 80 in that ballpark between the two. I give you exact number, but I got to dig it up for my next upgrade, next update. So probably about 77, that ballpark, almost 80.
Okay, I would say that we need to probably really bear down and get those new meters in as we move forward with this also. Anyone else from the board have any questions or comments about this study?
I have one question. Are we still pursuing the lost water that we can't account for? Have we made any headway with that?
I'd have to ask staff. We have made headway.
Yeah, and part of, we were capturing with the new meters. I know that was part of bringing it down a little bit. So they're all part of the each year we do that water audit. And KCI is helping us to find lost water and accounting for them. So.
Okay.
The water audit is a typical thing. American Water Works Association has a methodology, and I think that's what you all are using. I don't want to kid anybody. You're never going to bill 100% of the water you produce because you lose some of it. There's some leaks in the lines. You use some of it for things like line flushing. You may use some of it for fire protection. So in a well-maintained system, you're still going to have loss of 15, maybe even 20% of the water you produce. So one of the things we always do is look at what's the quantity of water you produce and compare it with what's the quantity you bill. You know, and if like we did some work out in Frostburg and they had 40% unaccounted for water, that's clearly a problem. But I mean, that's one of the other sort of, you know, taste tests, smell tests you have to do.
Yeah, we've chopped ours down somewhat, but we were in the 20s, and then we've got it down, I think, into the teens?
No, not yet.
We're not in the teens yet. But we're chopping down at it, and it is very difficult to find where lost water is, and
Yep. Yep.
very difficult. I mean, we've done, we've tried a lot of different things, and we still are moving to continue to changing these meters was a huge investment for the town. More accurate meters, which would certainly help, and we're looking at all the time, making sure we don't have leaks in lines. But does anyone from the board have any other discussion on this? You feel good with it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking here, the proposed budget number was the number $19,810, Lou? Was that your proposal, Eric? And
I believe that's correct, yes.
we have a motion to move forward with the new gen on a rate study, water and sewer rate study. Got a motion and a second, any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Let's get this thing rolling.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much. Yeah,
Look forward to working with you.
don't get snowed in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the Boys and Girls Club of Cecil County. Come on down, Derek, we got Derek DeWitt and Jim Quibby. Jim, you want to? All right, very good. If you want to introduce your whole team and tell us what you're looking at doing.
That would be great. So Jim Quimby, who you've introduced, is our officer of operations. This is Nick Hyde. Nick is our area manager for Hartford and Cecil counties. So all things community-based programming is what he oversees. And then Dave Pritchard here is doing the same, only all on the Eastern Shore. Project Bounce Back, that was funded by the governor's office, is helping us to expand services. The purpose being to have Boys and Girls Club impact in every county in the state of Maryland by 2024. So that's part of what is fueling our ability to expand and grow our impact. We have been in conversation with Mary and the team at Parks and Rec about use of the facility at the community center, at the neighborhood center in Elkton. And I think we've got a great proposal put together, an MOU that would allow us to start serving kids out of that facility and do so in a structured manner so that we're not over-promising and under-delivering because obviously, as everybody else is, we're struggling with staffing right now. But what we proposed is that we would start with some community engagement activities, some stuff that would be once, twice a month for the remainder of the school year, building up to a summer program that would be a co-summer camp program with Boys and Girls Clubs and Parks and Recreation. And then after that, lead into a more traditional Boys and Girls Club every day after school program for the foreseeable future. What we are proposing is to bring Boys and Girls Club programs that are evidence-based and have a long run of success in both Hartford and Cecil counties here to the city of Elkton and to be able to run it for the foreseeable future.
I'd like to give the board a little bit of history where I was at with this. I had spoke to Derek. He had been speaking with Mary McGall. I told them that if they could work work this out, those guys get together and try to work it out if it's a benefit for the town of Elkton, and bring the proposal to us to take a look at. I know that we had the Boys and Girls Club here in Elkton for years, and it was right in between my 2 times that I served as mayor. So I wasn't involved with the Boys and Girls Club at all. In fact, I think when I got elected, the Boys and Girls Club house was closed. So I don't really have any history, and I know that there are several board members that have had some history. And but my position was come here and let's discuss it. And if it made sense for our community, then I would be very supportive of that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where we're at. So I just wanted to let the board know how this kind of came together from that standpoint. So
now a little bit of additional color to that. the Boys and Girls Club that existed when we had a presence in Elkton, that Boys and Girls Club does not exist anymore. This is a Boys and Girls Club that is made up of the entire living board, save one member, which is our finance person. Outside of that, everyone and every person involved, donors included, everybody is on board with Boys and Girls Club as it exists right now.
So you put together a memorandum of understanding to work with Mary. Mary, can you give us your thoughts? What, do you think this is an asset for the town? Do you think, putting you on the spot here, but I want you to be frank and honest.
No, I think we're all in this for the same reason, is to provide services, and if we can work together, I think it's only gonna make it better. Than them trying to find somewhere to run it, us trying to run our own thing, kind of almost competing against each other. So I don't see any, I think working together is gonna be a lot better for everybody.
You guys have questions? Go ahead.
No, well, I think it's a great move for the community. I'm just, it's a little nuances, I guess, that I'm just thinking about, like, you run programs throughout the summer where you generate revenue to keep the community center open. So if you're combining programs, how is that gonna work?
We have not discussed the details of the summer. I mean, I know, going in that we had our own summer program, so that's something that we're still fine tuning is the summer piece.
So we're in a position where we have some flexibility as well. Fortunately, with this project, bounce back came funding, and that funding has allowed us to be able to stand up some things that otherwise we would have to find money from the community with. So this has allowed us a lot more freedom and flexibility to stand up programs, build a reputation, build a brand, and build a relationship with Parks and Recreation, so that we have something that's has continuity to it and has some real life.
So would you be applying your funds?
So I can't give you money for anything that funds something that is the program. I would be able to fund our programs, our staffing, our overhead, that sort of thing through Project Outback funding. So that's how we would. That's how we would
So you basically are looking for a home,
Space.
or room,
Space.
or space, yeah.
Space. Yeah, we need space. We need 4 walls and a roof. Yeah.
Where are you now?
We are in 2 elementary schools running a license program. We're at Thompson Estates and at Northeast Elementary. We are going to be expanding to Chesapeake City Elementary in the next couple of weeks, and we're also at Charleston Elementary. So our physical locations are school-based. We're also running a club on the go model, which is literally there's one in the parking lot. We have minibuses and minivans that we drive into neighborhoods and do programming on the spot with kids.
So what are you doing in the elementary schools? Are you doing aftercare or something like
Yeah,
that? Or?
so 2 and what will be a third is a licensed childcare model. So it's before and after school programming, but it's also Boys and Girls Club evidence-based programs. So it's a model that we've taken and adjusted from our friends in Delaware who have 50, I think, school-based license models. It works, it creates revenue, it offsets the expense of running those programs, while also focusing on schools that are Title I and families that can benefit from the Maryland Child Care Scholarship Program. So that's the model at 3 of the 4 schools in Cecil County right now. Our Charlestown model is a more traditional model, it's after school only, and that's.
But you'll keep those?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is expansion.
This is a whole different.
Yeah, this is expansion of services. This would be a more traditional model. This would be a model that is after school, summer, and the same as what Boys and Girls Clubs are historically. It's $100 a year, basically free, and open to anybody that's school age.
Okay, thank you.
I was pretty much involved with the Boys and Girls Club for many years here in the town of Elkton. And I don't want to bring up all the negatives, but I seen that there was a good usage of the building being used for certain portions of this, the citizens here in the town of Elkton. But one of the downfalls we had with that was most of our kids that needed services were really coming from other parts of the town, not just in the town of Elkton. It was more or less a countywide thing. Our program really didn't benefit like it did in Northeast. Some of the negativities was when we donated money to the Boys and Girls Club, and it covered most of the staffing and the portion of the funding was, I think, was 80% was gone towards the staff and 20% towards programs. It turned out to be a daycare instead of a use of actually giving soccer, basketball program, baseball, things that the kids really were looking for.
Yeah.
If a lot of you remember, we had swing sets, things that we had to really fund ourselves in order to make it work for the kids that were in the neighborhood. But that only covered for a certain amount of kids that needed something to do.
Yeah.
Just that little space didn't, if they didn't want to come and swing every day, play tag, and that was basically what we had.
Yeah.
So I really would like to see the town of Elkton run their program off the funding that they have and create. I know we're not supposed to be making money from our program, but a lot of nonprofit organizations are trying to do the same thing you're doing, using the room, using the building, but then we don't want to oversee the town of Elkton's neighborhood center being used for one room here, one room there. We want to get programs that's going to be set in stone like the YMCA used to have. There's things that the YMCA is doing right now that you want to do that the county is taking over. So, I mean, by saying all that, I think the Boys and Girls Club should be a county-wide thing. This is just something for the town of Elkton.
Well, I don't disagree with that. But right now, the town of Elkton is who loves us, and we love the town of Elkton.
There's nothing wrong with the love.
We want to be serving the neighborhood that community.
Okay.
Are you providing transportation for any of these children?
So we have talked to CCPS, and they have given us a verbal confirmation that they will provide transportation from any elementary school, any middle school in the area that can feed that community center, that neighborhood center.
That's
We
probably,
cannot-
that's
we cannot
probably
get them.
during the school year, but what transportation are they going to provide during the summer?
I'm gonna ask that question. Yeah.
Because schools are closed then, and it's real simple with the in session. If you have transportation, it's easy for them to make that transfer. And then again, I don't know how good that will be then, because even now, with the school system, they still have problems with transportation, but that's questionable right now. So,
Yeah, and great questions, and some of these I don't have answers to because we haven't crossed the bridge yet. But these are all the things we want to think about and plan for in the future so that we can be here forever.
so what specific services are you going to render to your clients when you have them there?
Yeah. So
And we talking what age group?
So basically, we can serve any kid through the age to 6 through 18. That's Boys and Girls Club programs. So it's everything from Passport to Manhood, Smart Girls, Project Learn, all of these things that are evidence-based youth development programs that have been developed over 150 years. These are all the programs that we're going to be able to provide on a daily basis. So we specify and we figure out what the community needs are by just figuring out, well, does this community have a particular need that fits one of our programs more? So if we have a gang prevention issue that we've got to address, then we have programs that can be adjusted for that. But the basics are, we support education, we support healthy kids, and we support character and leadership. That's the basics of it.
And with all that said, now how, depending upon what the community needs are, and what the offerings you present, how are you going to put your staff together in order to be able to honor what you were trying to do?
Yeah, so it's.
Because, let me finish, because I'm like Earl, I was familiar with the Boys and Girls Club here in Elkton, also the one in Northeast. And that staff didn't do a great job then. And I just wonder now, since you're presenting it now, some years later, how are you going to make sure that the staff is going to adhere to the needs that are necessary for the kids?
Yeah, so we're gonna do it the same way that this organization has been doing it for 30+ years. So we train staff, we hire staff according to their abilities. We recruit specifically for youth development, and we hire and train in youth development. So everything from safety to, well, safety is primary, to social emotional health, making sure that our folks are trained up. Right now, currently, all of our staff are trained in what's called Spillett University, which is a online learning university through Boys and Girls Clubs of America. So all of these trainings, along with obviously oversight and a ton of background checking, all of those things, those are all the things that make us Boys and Girls Clubs and what differentiates us from other daycares and things like that.
It's a great program if you can get it to operate here successfully as it's been other places. So I don't knock it. As long as you're doing something for kids, I'm grateful for that. So I'm done with questions.
I'm looking forward to showing you guys once we get this thing up and running.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a twofold question. As the years go by and the community center becomes more popular, Mary, it's probably a question for you. I'm wondering if there will be a conflict of space and time available with the programs that the rec center itself has going on and the implementation of the Boys and Girls Club. Are we going to get crowded? Is there going to be a conflict? And if so, have we given any thought to using parts of the armory for the Boys and Girls Club?
I know that conversations have taken place around the armory. I'm not familiar with the feasibility of the armory. I personally look at the armory and see a castle for kids, but that's in my head. I have no idea what the feasibility is there. I would love to learn more and happy to discuss that whenever I can. But in terms of long-term, we know that neighborhood building was built in that neighborhood to serve that neighborhood and serve the community. And that's our intention forever. So primarily, let's serve the kids and the families that are in that neighborhood. And whatever else we can do.
Right, that's a great goal, but I'm just wondering, is there going to be time and space available for both organizations in the same building?
Well, I think what we're asking for is dedicated time and space for Boys and Girls Club program. Because we have a proven track record, Boys and Girls Club have a proven track record of being the need for youth, ages 6 through 18, forever. So the other needs and the other things, when they come up, we're gonna have to negotiate that through them.
Yeah, because I can foresee the needs of the community center changing as it becomes better known and more popular, and we implement more programs there in itself.
Our intention is to be the need. Our intention is to be, the Boys and Girls Club is the need. Kids need that space.
But it's not all for kids. I don't mean to interrupt you, but we have a larger group of people that we plan on servicing. I think Commissioner Massiano's question is actually extremely important and requires more discussion by us with Mary on maybe what are, her 5-year, what is her 5-year plan?
So can I say something?
Yeah.
So we have many different age groups in there now. The seniors are doing their programs during the day when the kids are in school. This Boys and Girls Club is really targeting a 3-hour block after school when it's most needed for those kids to be in a structured program. So that's for them to come in 3 hours a day after school. We're still in there all day long we have seniors in there. We have, toddlers in there. We have, all different ages in there during the day. They come in, they hit that 3 to 6 hour time slot and do their after school program. And then we're back 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever, doing programming in the evening. So I don't think them coming in and fulfilling a need that we have. When we built that, we wanted to have after school programs there. They have a successful program now that they can jump right in and put in place.
But is that our only program, Mary? We're talking summer too.
Yeah.
All, summer's not just 3 to 6.
No, so when that's,
It's sort of something that
we have not,
we need to, we need to.
So
negotiate.
you're still talking all that through?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
So-
We have no intention of like taking that building over. It's not our building. It's-
no, I understand that.
But,
Right, I understand that as well.
and the model that we're looking for is one that's not new. We've seen it in Happy Grace, we've seen it in Bel Air with the call center. It's a model that works. We just share space and we figure out time and things like that. And just make the adjustments as needed. And as long as we have a good working relationship, it seems like we're going to,
Yeah,
and I don't see that being, that's not worth jeopardizing if it means jeopardizing services to the community. So,
right. But you understand our position where we have to, look beyond what's going on there now, what you're proposing.
sure,
We have to really, we're responsible for that. We have to look at the whole picture.
sure.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's
And-
not putting your needs down or the fact that it probably could work very well.
Sure.
We just have to have those discussions.
Absolutely. So the example I'll give is Happy Grace, we're in the call center, where the partnership is Parks and Recreation, Office on Aging, and Boys and Girls Club. Right? There's a three-part operation that takes place in this building all the time. And granted, they're larger buildings, understandably, that means that there's more flexibility, but as long as we're open and transparent about our needs and making sure we're supporting each other.
Yeah. I personally like to have a better understanding of what, like you said from the very beginning, this is what we want to start out doing. This is what we'd like to do in the summer, and then come fall, what our game plan is, and then how do you plan on growing? So that I can better understand what we're allowing you to, to do within the building. Maybe I missed that early on, I just thought we, just kind of briefly touched on it.
Yeah, I can give you a quick summary if that's something more, I can give you something more.
Or you
about
can
that.
give it to Mary, and Mary,
That's fine.
can relay it to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we don't want to go in over promising under delivery, basically. We don't want to walk in and say, we're gonna run a program for 100 kids tomorrow. We want to go in, build a relationship, build a Boys and Girls Club brand in that area. And in that 6-month period, build a relationship with Parks and Rec, really make sure that we understand the space and needs.
Yeah.
And by the fall, have a regular after-school program.
Yeah, I think basically for me, I'd like to know what your full-blown needs are. If you have everything going that you want to do from ages, would you say 6 to 18?
Yep.
What does that encompass, and what would it require from the town of Elkton?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
And I would like to see the same thing before that happened, Murray, because you also need to realize, and of course, those centers that you talked about, Boys and Girls Club in Harford County, I've been to before. But if you look at the layout of our building, it certainly serves us now. You have a great big gym, which you can divide. I guess in that sense, it would be recreational. But when it comes to the actual learning environment of kids, you have on one side of the building, basically a dance studio, which can be divided. And then on the other side, you have 2 rooms which right now house cheers for small people. And when you're talking about separating groups, that becomes very important when you're talking about the logistics of what you're going to do in the building and how you're going to separate the different age groups that you're going to have there trying to either teach or do whatever. So that needs to be taken into consideration. And I'm like, Gene, I'd like to see that. Not saying you can't do that. but
Right. Personally, if you're gonna do
It's a lot.
this, I wanna see it successful
Absolutely.
for everybody. That's the bottom line, but we have to go, careful, I guess,
Ginger.
gingerly, I don't know.
Yeah, well, we don't want to get bottlenecked.
We just have to know what we're
Absolutely.
promising you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I would say our next step would be, I think, in concept, I don't hear any no, absolutely not type of things here. But I would say in concept, Mary, I think you need to get with Lewis and we get this memorandum of understanding together and everyone understand what the goals is and to add on what what would be your need in the future?
Absolutely.
Especially.
I would suggest to take a look at, even though this is Delaware, I dealt with Rob. Rob used to run the Boys and Girls Club in Glasgow for years. And that's one thing that my hope was when we brought the Boys and Girls Club 1 year before, to try to model it like the one in Glasgow, Delaware. You're familiar with that?
Familiar. Yep.
And that's, when I say a Boys and Girls Club was running out of something similar to what you're trying to do, hopefully for the neighborhood center. But I'd like I said, with Givens, Commissioner Givens, I don't see the space, but I want to rely on the administration, staff and members over at the neighborhood center. So don't think this is a negative or no for me. It's just that I've dealt with it and I've seen nothing good and some bads from it.
We look forward to showing you all the good.
Sounds good. Yeah, if you can, I mean, if Mary can answer our questions that were just brought up, that's all that really matters.
Great.
Okay,
Excellent.
thank you.
Rob stepped out. Is there any other comments from your staff that they might want to adjust to us, or we are where we are right now?
Okay.
Barry, anything from you?
Not yet?
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Louis?
Great. The items I have on my agenda are a little less tedious than that. The first item I have is Resolution R1 2002. As the board is aware, Clean Nanomedicine Inc. is a biopharmaceutical company developing in the old WL War building in Upper Chesapeake Corporate Center. They've applied for $3 million through the Neighborhood Business Board program through the Department of Housing and Community Development. And they need a resolution, or we need to provide a resolution in order for them to subsidize that need for that facility in our community and to support the $3 million loan from the Neighborhood Business Works to Nanomedicine. So I would ask the board to agree to enact Resolution R1 2022 in support of Clean Nanomedicine Inc. at the Upper Chesapeake Corporate Center for a $3 million loan from Neighborhood Business Works to the DHCD.
We have a motion to accept Resolution R1 2022 supporting the application of Clean Nanomedicine for financial assistance from the NBW Works program for $3 million.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this at all?
I had one question. Which building is that, Louis?
It's the WL War building on there when you first go in, yes. Whatever that.
It's the building that you initially got your COVID shot in.
Across from the bank.
Yeah.
Over,
Yeah, the WL War, they have a plant there and they shut down and they sold the property.
And I know Jean Minter's got something she wants to say.
Mayor, you and I received an email just a few minutes ago from Mr. Mark Mortensen of Clean Nanomedicine stating that the Board of Public Works approved the loan.
Woo!
Oh.
Yeah, it was on their agenda for today.
Yeah, they approved it, and the comptroller is Peter Francho is going to be on his way to Elkton. So it was see how quickly these things work when they approve this resolution, instant gratification. The loan has been approved, and it's a wonderful thing for the Elkton community. They're going to be Clean Nanomedical. They're on the New York Stock Exchange. They believe that they have a treatment for multiple muscular diseases and neuromedical diseases, if that's a word. We're pretty excited about this group, and they're going to employ a lot of high-paying jobs in our town. They took over a building that was just sitting there, kind of decaying in some degree, and they've got an additional 60 or 70 acres, I think, next door to it that could be phase 2 here before you know it. Pretty exciting news. Thank you for that good news, Jean Minter.
You're welcome.
So All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. There we go. Wonderful.
I think this company will generate products that'll serve neuromuscular and other diseases. That's a tool for treatment of this
Yes.
illnesses.
Nice.
And you know, we're entering into this water and rate model update, and Clean is gonna very possibly use a lot of water. So we want to make sure that these future businesses that we're bringing in are included in these studies, which I know we will.
The next item I have is a formality. The town of Elkton is selling the 205 Boo Street building to the Elkton Colored School Museum and Cultural Center. And as we move closer to settlement, one of the requirements of the local government article was that we have to advertise the fact that we're selling that property and give 20 days notice. We've advertised on December 29th and today, January 5th. And once that 20-day notice is completed, then we'll schedule settlement on that building because all the environmental issues are resolved. I believe Barry Seaman has squared things away with Emerson Dorsey, who represents Elkton Colored School Museum and Cultural Center. And we can finally convey that building to them. Hopefully they can work towards the restoration of that building and get things squared away for the future.
I am excited about that building.
We've already passed a resolution, the board has, R7, declaring surplus property and the sale of the building, so we don't need to do anything beyond the notice that we've provided under the local government article.
Well, it's good to know that we're at that stage now where we're just
Yeah, we're
doing the
getting close, very
advertisement.
close now.
Very close. Thank you, John and Lois and
And Terry.
everyone.
The other item I have, when I see we have Fred and Mary Graff on board here. Hi, I don't know if you can see me, but I can see you. And the contract we have with Certified Seal expired in December of 21. So we want to renew that contract with the Certified Seal to continue for street cleaning services in the town. And basically, I need the board's authority to renew that contract and move forward with, I think it's a 3-year contract that we have with them in order to do the cleaning. And I don't know if Dan has anything to throw in here or not, but he has coordinated with them as cleaning, when they pick up their debris on the street. I think Certified Seal comes along and finishes some of that up and then keeps the streets clean. Do you have any comments, Dan, on Certified Seal's renewal, contract renewal?
Certified Seal has been a great partner with the town. We've had issues. What happened is we used to do it used to be hard and fast Tuesdays and Fridays. We had discussion with other people in the community and they said, hey, why can't we follow up after we pick up the yard waste pickup? So Fred's been very helpful that way. So we actually changed it. So now we pick up Thursday, Fridays, and they alternate their calendar to service the town well. I have no objection to them. In fact, I thoroughly improve and wholeheartedly, enthusiastically for this contract. They do a good job.
Very good.
We have 52,000 budgeted for fiscal 22, so we're in good physical condition or fiscal condition.
Was there an increase in the renewal?
Yeah, it went from $110 to $115. I don't think that's unreasonable given the costs of operating equipment, fuel, and things of that nature.
I would say to you that I'm going to look at the graphs up there, and I'm not trying to say that maybe things should have been higher, but you're a small business, and we need you to survive, and hopefully you can do that with that amount. But I will tell you that you guys do a great job for us. Very pleased to have you on board, and I think our agreement, is this going to be a 3-year agreement, Lou?
Yeah, I believe we want a 3-year agreement. Is that right? Fred, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I would like some clarification. Our contract's up in December, and that doesn't put us in a good position to negotiate, in the first part of the year to coincide with the fiscal year. if you know what I mean. In other words, some of the talks in December, well, the budget's already established, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to get more in line with everybody else. We present our budget or our rates to the other towns, you know, as they're negotiating in February, March, April to coincide with the fiscal year. You got that so far?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. We're putting in a dollar amount based on your contract. In the contract, our fiscal starts July 1, and it puts you a little bit behind the 8 ball.
Yes. Okay, we're there. The figures I gave you, we're sort of catching up. We're doing a study now. It's hard to get prices off these other people, but our nearest competitor is at $135 an hour. We're at 105 right this minute. Now, where we're going with this is obviously we're based in this area. We're not even going to get near competitive rates because I want to protect my hometown turf, and we have a schedule. We work very well with Dan. Some of the issues, we've created a lot more paperwork. We do a list for everyone to know where we were exactly that day. We write down mileage. We obviously write down water usage, and we're taking the material to the landfill. So, you know, as on the onset of this contract, we've gained a lot more responsibility. What I would like to do is if we go 3 years, I want to have a progressive rate increase, not just lock in a certain amount and stick with that for 3 years, because things are just rising faster and faster than we can even keep up with after 40 years. So two options are to renew it now. I don't know if I want to stretch it out 3 years. Another option would be extend it until we can talk a little more about it during your budget talks in the next couple months. What do you say to that?
Lou, I can tell you, I'm okay if we extend it for the next 6 months and then we run the contract based on the fiscal year. We do a 3-year fiscal, and then we allow them to make a presentation in front of us with a contract for sweeping over the next 3 years. I'm okay with that, or I'm okay if there's a percentage increase, because I know that I know in my business how much it's costing me to be on the road right now. The price of fuel for me went from about $45 filling up to almost, well, in some cases it is $100 to fill up. And you don't believe that adds up, but it takes away your extra dollars that you do have. And it does hurt the small business person. And I consider myself one of those. And I'm not advocating to give away town money, and I'm not advocating to make it better for anybody here, but I think that we need to give, I don't want to lose a local business from doing our sweeping, for being maybe going the wrong way here. So how about if we do this?
I'll extend the contract to June 30th. That's the end of fiscal year.
That's what we'll do.
During that time frame, we can negotiate whatever cost increases, whether it's based on CPI or other factors over a more lengthy.
You guys are
period.
good. You good with that?
I'd like them to put a proposal in sooner than that.
Yeah. And Mr. and Mrs. Graff, if we could have your proposal maybe by March,
Sure.
so that we can get it into the budget, so we can take a look at that. We appreciate it, but we're going to extend it now through the end of June.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. That'll be fine. I'll keep it at the 105 for now. That's really a good price.
It's a great price.
Yeah. And like I said, my nearest competitor is 135. We're not going to get there. I'll guarantee you that, but I would like a bump up. Our brooms went up 20% this year alone. And tires and everything else. Fuel is another story, but since we are close and we have a hell of a good system, that sounds fair to me. We'll stick with 105 and then we'll start negotiating when everybody else's budgets are up for grabs, okay?
Thank you, Fred.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you, guys. All right, that's what we'll do.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Lou, you have the last item.
The last item we have is a proclamation honoring Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I believe it's going to be virtual this year. Commissioner Gibbons could comment on that.
It will be, yes. I told you all previously that it was not, but with the numbers increasing with the COVID, it was just suggested that maybe it'll be virtual. That will protect those all that are being, that unfortunately was going to be in attendance.
Basically, the proclamation honors Dr. Martin Luther King. And as Commissioner Gibbons commented, it'll be a virtual ceremony this year for celebration of Dr. King. And I would ask the board to proclaim the 17th as a town holiday in honor of Dr. King and allow people to participate in that activity.
We have a motion to accept proclamation P1 2022, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. birthday.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion
I
carries.
did have one question. I just wanted to be clear. Charles, it's my understanding that they're going to use the footage of the officials from last year, so no action is required on our part.
No, okay, when your face on the place, I'm just kidding. Didn't they take pictures of everyone last year?
Yeah.
They did, and I saw an email, and I just wanted to be clear.
And they're going to be doing the same thing again from my understanding. So rather than individually, if we were live, they introduce you, it's going to be a continuous photo, whatever you call it, showing your face, waving or smiling or something like that.
And they'll just use what they had from last year.
Yeah.
Other than for new people, they're going to take that.
Yes, sir.
Do we have the login information for that yet?
They're supposed to be coming. They're supposed to
Oh,
send
it's
that to
not.
you.
Okay,
It is coming.
okay. No, I thought I missed it.
No, it's coming.
All right, that's good. That's good.
Very good. Okay, first and foremost, Happy New Year, everybody.
Same to you.
And as I said, as we were opening up, let's hope we can get through this. 2021 was an interesting year, and 2022 starting out as a hot year. And if we can get the fatalities and the hospital visits down, I think we can beat this. I think, in my opinion, it's probably not a bad thing that we all get COVID at this point. This as long as we don't die from it, and of course have any hospital visits, I think it's going to happen. I think it's spreading to everybody. It's hitting us all differently. The sniffles. I heard some people have upset stomach. There was a couple of days over the holidays that I had a little bit of a headache, which I normally don't get headaches, and I associate it with, okay, I probably had the Omicron. So I quarantined myself like everyone else should do, and that's what we did. And I know Commissioner Massimiano, we're glad you're still with us, and you said it hit you like a cold.
Mild cold.
Mild cold. So let's hope that that's what it breaks itself down to, and we don't lose any lives.
Right.
Over the New Year's, we had another shooting in the town of Elkton at the Sunrise Hotel. And that's gonna, I get asked all the time, what can the town do? What can we do? How can we, and it gets a little frustrating when I hear those things. We do our best to make public safety the best that we can make, and we do a great job with that. We just have at times individuals that choose to do the wrong thing, and it happens a lot. We have a lot of people who choose to do the wrong thing, And, but next week, I'd like to have during our workshop, I'd like to invite all the department heads in, either via Zoom or via being in the room with us. But as we talk about things, I think we got Kimberly in, we're going to discuss the TIF district. And after we get all that out of the way, I just like for the board to let's talk about our goals. You know, let's talk where we want this town to go in the next 4 or 5 years. We're moving forward this sustainable plan, a communities plan that we have to do over the next 5 years. But let's really give some direction on what we want to see and how we can make our community better. And if it means that we need more bodies, if we need to hire out things, if we need to tweak some things, let's put some direction in place to make it happen. I don't want this to fall on our deaf ears. Let's really come up and pound this thing home because we need to get it done. So that'll be next week. So kind of plan on, it could be a 2.5, 3 hour workshop next week. We had, Mr. Steve Repold, have we heard anything back from our audit? I think I spoke to you earlier in the week, but each year the town of Elkton gets an audit done from the previous fiscal year, and we normally receive it in the month of December, and now we're into January. Have they reported to us yet?
We anticipate getting the draft of the financials during this month. I was hoping they'd be this week. We have not seen them yet, so I expect the financials will be issued by the end of January.
Very good. Yeah, let's keep on them. That's very important information. I wanted to bring up 2 things about the community center, if I could. We had our town thank you party for the members that serve on our town boards and in the community. We had a little reception there on Sunday. I'm not exactly sure of the date it was, but I have to tell you, I thought it went very well. I thought the reception was great. I thought it was hosted very nicely. I think the folks that came in that hadn't had an opportunity to see the community center really liked what they saw. I thought the food was great. I thought everything about it went very, very well. So my hats off to everyone that was involved in that. It was a very, very nice event, I thought, anyhow. Going along with the neighborhood community center, while we were in there, it sticks out now like a sore thumb to me. I see that we still don't have any padding around the I-beams in the gymnasium. Has that been ordered? It has been ordered. Thank you, Mary.
In November.
Okay, very good.
Just waiting.
Okay, you know, there's a local company, and maybe you did went local, but Tiffin?
Yep.
Oh, perfect, perfect. They're over in Triumph Industrial Park, and they do a great job putting that padding together. We had there was a seminar on the American Rescue Funds that was in December, and of course, the day of the seminar, we lost power. I think there was a transformer that went out, and there's like 4,000 homes in the area here that lost power. And I think, though, some of the members of the team reviewed the ARPA seminar, and that was an important meeting for us because that was the meeting that we wanted to get some information on how we can process dollars to nonprofits if we decide to do that. Lou, I know you listened to it. Was there anything, any information or any insight that you gained?
Somewhat. One thing I gained is the complexity of how it's monitored. When the town distributes any money, especially to nonprofits, and it depends on whether they're a beneficiary or a pass-through type of use of that money.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a pass-through, in other words, give it to a nonprofit and distribute services to other organizations or people or areas, then it has to be closely monitored. And I haven't figured out how we'll do that yet because we don't have very
Let me ask you
extensive
this,
staff in order to do that.
and I know that, and that has been our challenge. Let me ask this question. Could the town of Elkton purchase, let's say example of a new ambulance? The town of Elkton purchase it, use the ARPA funds, and then make a donation to the Singer Lake Fire Company. Is that something that's possible within the guidelines? I don't know.
See, we don't provide the service with an ambulance. In other words, we could buy any piece of equipment we want to buy if we follow guidelines, standard guidelines of the federal government to procure whatever equipment we're going to have. But if it's equipment that we don't use, I'm not sure how during an audit we'd explain why we bought expensive equipment that we didn't have any use for.
Well, my concern is we may have our own ambulance service here before too long.
If we have our own ambulance service, we could do it.
Okay,
Giving it to someone else to use, that's a little different.
could it be leased? Could it be acquired and leased out? Or is that even, I'm just trying to go through the semantics here. But but you're saying that, well, listen, if we acquired it and we leased it back to the fire company, for example, they're providing a service for our community. We just got to figure out a way. I mean, I know we sent over a lot of information in regards to how we could make this work. And I 100% agree with you. There's no straight line answer on this. I mean, I've tried to come up with a straight line answer. And this isn't only for the fire company. I'm talking about we've got a lot of ARPA funding. We're going to use 90% of it for our own infrastructure. But it did state that if we could use money to help out the Elkton VFW, who helped buy back, they helped purchase the cameras for our police department a few years ago. These are things that I'd like to be able to get back because they've struggled trying to raise money during these COVID times.
The problem I have there is that once you open it up to nonprofits, there could be
And there could be
100 nonprofits in Elkton. And you would have a criteria in which to determine how much money they would get and how it would be monitored by the town of Elkton as to how they use that money. And that's where I think we're not the only community in that bucket. Let me tell you right now, I'm not sure how communities can monitor millions of dollars.
And listen, I reached out to the county and there was some discussion whether the county used the ARPA funding for different things. And they used the money prior to the ARPA funding. I don't know what money that was. There was another grant that they received and they gave that money to the agencies, but they continue to verbally tell me that they have been able to use ARPA funding I think they have a process. I think that the county does have a process now in place that they've been putting together. So maybe we could reach out to the county and see what their process is. Because I think every member on the board here wants to move forward with this. Do you agree? I think we want to do that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We want to do it. We see the amount of calls that's happening. We want to help. Okay. And that's something that we can even bring up next week, Lou, but we want to come to some type of conclusion.
Well,
all right.
The water and sewer are probably the easiest to deal with because they're straight out infrastructure.
Yes.
You still have to follow procurement guidelines in order to do that, which is not necessarily easy. But the fact is, it's cut and dry in terms of replacing water infrastructure or sewer infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one easy.
That's the easy part.
Yeah,
it spells it out. It spells out infrastructure.
Specifically,
now, as I stated, I think I got to find my notes. What was the words I used? Public health response. I think that it can be done under what they call the public health response.
Well, I looked at that and I'm not sure, when I looked at the guidelines that I have for ARPA, the federal guidelines, I don't know how you can do that. They may be responsible for dealing with it when they get audited. And I'm not sure, I don't feel comfortable going into a room full of federal authorities and arguing that point. Let me tell you that right now.
And I know that. And listen, Lou, I want to make it very clear. Lewis is not against this. In fact, I know Lewis is 100% for doing this also, but we also have to make sure we do it the right way. And we do appreciate what you're doing, because it's 5 years from now when they do all these audits, I don't want Charlie to go to jail.
Well, I remember when I first came on the board, Lewis used to always say that he wanted to protect us all and none of us would go to jail.
That's right.
So he's still in that same mind frame.
He is. We want to do it, but we got to figure out how we can do it, because I know everyone in the town is on board with this. I know that. And we just got to get it done, and it's tweaking it here and making sure that it's done right, because in 5 years, when they do this first audit, I probably won't be sitting here, and maybe some of the members here won't be sitting here.
We'll be in jail.
Yeah. Charlie will be in jail. Earl will be.
It's the federal government. They're gonna come up with something else.
They're gonna come up with something. Now, they may forgive it all. Who knows?
Well, that would be
It would be
the
good.
right thing to do.
It would be. Gene, you're on.
I'm on. Oh, okay. Speaking of all these meetings that are now virtual, we have one tomorrow. 8:30 to 10. Do you have any information on that?
I can send it to you.
Can you? Because I don't know if I missed that one. I'm trying to screenshot these things so that I have them. And then, of course, the state of the county has now gone virtual. And we get something on that. Or no, I think I have that. But can we just make sure we all have the?
I'll be resent. I know
Thank
you
you.
have it twice.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry. The only thing else I have, besides Happy New Year to everybody. I saw on MML Bulletin that MDE has received 144 million for grants and loans for water infrastructure projects. Now, it's the first time seeing it, but I'm hoping that somebody, you're shaking your head, yes.
I'm familiar, I saw it.
You're aware of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should go get all the money we can. So, that could be really important for us, for where we're at now, especially. I wonder if they'll retro it, like, for anything that we've done, but regardless, I'd like to make sure that we pursue that. Okay. Now, and I'm just looking forward to next week's meeting. Thank you.
Perfect. Charles?
This is for, I guess, Lois and Dan. The business owners out to Warner Road would like to know if they can get a bigger sign out there so that trucks will not be coming down that road. There's one of the businesses out there, it's Doug Blewett, and I think his brother, they make clothing or something of the sort. I believe last week they were out there putting in a new mailbox. Evidently, a truck came down the road too far or either backed into their property and the mailbox was knocked over. So I don't think they called the town to let them know that. I think they just went on to fix it themselves.
I posted a sign at the intersection of Bell Hill Road and Warner Road some time ago, and that you couldn't go down there. And I'm not sure if a bigger sign would make any difference, but we use what's called a standard sign that under the Maryland standards, that's a sign that you would post. It's like, I'm not sure if we could make a custom sign or not, but we use standard signs.
I can understand that. You're just looking for it, please.
Sure.
Whatever, appreciate it. And then they also want to know if the sweeper could go all the way down the end of that road and turn around and come back. because I guess they have a whole lot of homeless people living out there in the woods, I guess between Warner Road and 279. And with that, I guess they travel that route and they leave a lot of trash out there. So they were asking if the sweeper could go all the way down and come back whenever it comes out there. Because now I guess the sweeper goes to Dunkin' Donuts and that's it.
Can they turn around?
Couldn't
In
turn
there?
around. The sweeper truck. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So you got that one, Louis? I'm done. So
Yeah, Dan's on board here. We have to modify their schedule in order to do that.
while he
Depends on
did,
how big the stuff is too.
obviously, I know that's true, but the way one of the gentlemen was talking, it's just like little petty pieces of paper and things like that. And it's amazing how you go down that road and you actually see people or little camps inside that wooded area. I guess it doesn't change.
That's not our property?
Yeah.
Well, we cleaned up dumping along that road and it's pretty big stuff, but yeah, we can look into it, sure.
Just check it out, please, if you need it, and then let me know. If not, you've been Ellie.
Robert.
I got nothing to speak.
All right, before I open up the floor for anyone that has anything to say for the good of the town of Elkton.
What did they decide to build over beside us?
The building next to us, my understanding is the Elkton Police Department is gonna take the building next door for
We're going to
records.
expand it for records keeping and property. We need that facility for the police department.
Perfect. I wanted to make the board aware that Commissioner Givens has extended his record. He's entering his 28th year of public service. Thank you, Commissioner Givens. Our record with the town of Elkton, 28 years, going in, it is. 28
I
years.
must be old. I love
He started when he was 7.
it. Yes, I did. You're right.
Sam, you have anything for the good of the town of Elkton?
Yeah, a couple things,
Sam Goldwater on Hermitage Drive.
and representing also the fire department. As it relates to some of the commentary on, the American Rescue Funds, the fire department is, third-party audited every year, and we do receive federal funds from other programs. And, those audits seem to work pretty good, just so you know that, that could be an option for you as far as monitoring in the future. And those funds, they're personnel funds and also equipment funds from the federal government that we receive. The other thing I wanted to mention was in regards to the multiple shootings we've had recently, the fire department had to issue a bulletproof vest to all our EMS personnel, which was a pretty costly exercise. And we respond to every single call wearing bulletproof vests. We've been attacked with multiple types of weapons, from guns to knives to baseball bats. And so it's a broader issue than you might be aware of. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is Station 3 on Route 40 is functionally closed. We're down 2 engines and 2 aerials. We just don't have the equipment put in there. It's literally, if you went up there right now, it's in.
Is it hard getting parts? Is what it is?
It's hard getting parts, and our equipment now has aged out to a point where it's not a logistical issue. It's just they don't make the parts anymore. And so we're driving vehicles that actually don't meet any standards anymore. And the replacement is funding driven. And also, if we bought a new aerial today, we couldn't see it for 2 years. So that's the logistical part. And then, of course, we have the funding part. So as you deliberate going forward, supporting the fire department, just be aware that the problems are getting bigger, not smaller. And one of the things I would like to do is to, and I have been giving all the members periodic information as it arrives, but I would like to create some sort of formal monthly report as if we were a department of the town. So you're aware of the number of calls we run, types of calls, just more informational. Trying to keep that communication line open on a more formal basis. And then also, we would like to discuss, and we really do appreciate the town's attitude in support. But we do have these short-term and long-term things that we need to discuss. And we would like to have some type of a formal, today we're going to talk about this in its entirety. And because we've been talking about it for now a couple of years, bits and pieces. And so we would like to just sit down and have a total workshop just on fire and EMS in the town of Elkton and what the town's expectations are, and how we can meet those expectations going forward. Because fire departments nationwide are expectation driven. So if your expectation is we should be able to handle a training rally next to the Catholic school, that's an expectation that we may or may not be able to meet. If your expectation is we should be able to deal with a tractor trailer incident at the corner of Route 40 and Bridge Street, that's a different expectation. So I think we probably exceed what most public would expect their fire department to do, but I think we should formalize that and say, okay, this is what we expect of you. This is how much it costs to do that, and figure out how we're going to accomplish that expectation. So I think we do need a lot more formal process as it relates to the town and the fire department. We just finished out the year. I'll give you an annual report next few days, but so 56% of all of our calls, which is down from 64, were in the town of Elkton. And that's on a percentage basis. And what's happened is the number of calls in the town of Elkton have actually gone up, but the total number of calls have also gone up. So the percentage has gone down, but actually the number of calls in the town have gone up. And so, we are very pleased with the thought process of the town and the relationship that we're building.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Okay, this is the time of the meeting. We open up the floor to anyone that's on our Zoom meeting. Does anyone have anything to say for the good of the town of Elkton? I think everyone is unmuting. I see everyone appears to be unmuted if they wanted to be. Seeing none, this meeting's adjourned.